Hi everyone, welcome to today's art tutorial where we will be drawing a frog. Let's begin. Start by drawing an oval tipped on its side for a guideline for the body, and a circle for the head, and a curved line for the back. Then we'll draw a soft arch for the belly and chest. With two smaller circles on either side, we will mark where each shoulder will begin. Then for the head angle and backbone, create a curved line. A short line connecting to another smaller circle and another line will give us the first arm. Then we will repeat that step to start the first leg with the knee pointing up and a rough square to where his foot will go. Two more circles at the bottom of the oval will mark where his glutes will be. His back leg will stick out a bit more and go down, resembling two sides of a triangle. Let's start working on the details of the frog's head. Up at the top, draw a curved line for the space between the two eyes and draw two circles where the eyes will go. His mouth will start about halfway down the circle and will be a wavy line with the side closer to us wider, giving us the effect of closer versus farther away. Drawing a little wave will give us the eyelid, and we can add the eye back. Two little dots will mark where the nose will be. Go ahead and draw the other eye by making sure both eyes are even with the pencil. Then an arch will create his eyelid. And the eye is drawn by adding a backwards letter C and a regular C to create the circle. Moving on, we'll draw the shoulder, neckline, and arm. And then connect it to the body. The hands are drawn by creating a sort of rectangle with little lines and circles for the finger placement. I wasn't sure how many fingers a frog has, but after some research, I found that they only have 4. So draw only 4 and not 5. His other arm will be laying across his chest with his fingers extended. Create his fingers by drawing lines that connect to each other with rounded ends. Then finish the arm by drawing his forearm, shoulder, and a bit of his upper arm. Let's move down to his stomach. The line slopes down a bit on the right side, then arches up higher in the other direction. His backside is more on the flat side since he's laying on it. And his leg will extend right up to his stomach. A sideways smile will make his calf, and a slightly curved line will make the top part of his lower leg. Then connect the leg to the hip. For his other leg, we will repeat the shapes and draw only 2 toes, since that foot will be behind the other one. We will finish up by drawing the second foot. Now that we have our frog drawn, it's time to add some ink. I'm going to use my 1.0 Master Touch ink pen to start with, but if you don't have one, a regular pen will do. Let's begin. Start by tracing your pencil shapes with your pen. Take your time, since once you add the ink, it will not be able to be erased. Once you have the eye, draw the lower lid and upper lid. In the middle of the eye, draw a small rounded line for the pupil. Then add short ink lines going in the same direction at the bottom of the eye and a little under the upper lid, giving it some shadow and shape. Adding tiny little dots creates a more stipple effect for shading. Moving down creates some light shading to push this part of the face back. I'm keeping the outline of his face pretty thick to help keep it the main focus. Trace his mouth. And add his nose and a little line above each dot and the further eyelid. A little line will mark his lower lip. Continue to draw in the rest of his head. Making sure that both eyes are level, draw the eye and add the pupil, keeping the pupil slightly rounded, giving the frog a happy expression. Then start to add shading in the little triangle-shaped eyelid to push that eye back behind the nose. Keep your pen lines all going in one direction before changing the direction again, creating a cross-hatched look. Create shading to the lower part of the eye with pen lines and little dots for stippling. As we move down, draw in the shoulder and neckline. Hold your pen towards the back and start adding shading to the frog's chin and neck. A little side tip. If you hold the pen close to the tip, your ink lines will be bolder and darker, whereas holding the pen towards the back will give you a softer look. Here, I'm going to add a little bit of soft shading on the top of his face. Next, we'll add some details around the eye and some light shading along the nose and left side of the face, leaving the right side blank where the light will be. A key note to remember: if you go over the same section again and again, even with light pen lines, it will become darker. Draw in the arm resting on his chest and add the shape of the fingers. Then add in the shading to the bottom of the arm and fingers. Moving over to the left hand, we will repeat the process in the same way by drawing in his arm, underarm, and back before coming in and adding our shadow. Start by adding lines going one way, then switch directions to make the crosshatch look to darken the areas right where the frog meets the imaginary line. Continue to draw the fingers and hand. At this point, I realized that I created a humanoid hand for our amphibian, so I went ahead and drew the hand how I wanted it, and then erased the extra appendage. Continue to add shading to the arm and hand. As we move down to the legs, we will repeat the same steps we did for the upper portion by refining the shape we want the leg to look like. Here I wanted to give some roundness to the hip before erasing all the pencil lines. I decided once again to grow his little back leg because proportionally, if he would have stood up, he would have been lopsided. And that's the beauty of a guideline. They're movable. So let's keep going and add the outline and shading details to his frog feet and frog toes. Make them how you think they should look. Keep the shading on the bottom of the toes and ankles, then repeat the same steps on the second foot. Add dark shading to the triangle shape to push his back leg back. Then add some shading going along the width of the leg instead of the length to help enhance the roundness of the thigh and create a soft, rounded look. Repeat the same process on the back leg. Add some light shading to the top of his foot and darken the shading on the heels to increase the contrast. Holding your pen towards the back, continue to add shading to the left leg. Then connect the dark shading along the back before going in the opposite direction with lighter shading to create a nice transition from light to dark. Moving now to the chest and belly, draw in the outline and add dark shading underneath the resting hand. Then with extremely light shading, add some shadow along the side of the frog, making sure your lines are going widthwise toward the belly. Take a second to step back and check your work, and pause the video if you need to make any changes at this point. Then give yourself a pat on the back for completing the frog. Now let's give our frog something to lay on. Let's have him chilling out by a lake somewhere on a rock. So grab your pencil and start right above his cheek and create angled lines to create a rock shape. You can make this rock however you want. Keep the guidelines loose and don't think too hard on this. Continue by adding hints of water underneath. Then add a horizon line to give depth to the picture. Finish by adding long lines in different angles to create tall grass growing along either side of the frog. Switching back to our ink pen, let's continue to create the rock by giving parts of the bottom of it areas of thick shading to start making it more rock-like. Here, I'm using a marker pen to create this look, but a Sharpie marker but a Sharpie marker can work as well. And since the sunlight is coming from the right side, keep the shadows on the left and underside of the rock layers. We'll also add a dark shadow directly underneath the frog, so he's laying directly on the rock, as well as directly under his arm and leg. Let's go ahead and finish the rock by drawing in the rest of the edges of the rock and add anything else that would look good before adding the long grass stems. I wanted to add a cattail too because cattails seem like something that grows beside water. also used two different pin widths to add interest to the grass blades before adding some shading and filler grass between them to make it look more natural. Coming back to the frog and rock, add some lighter shading along the frog. Add some shading on the rock and around the rock to connect the darkest dark and white. Continue to do this where you feel the rock needs more shading, as well as along the water by the rock, before moving to the grass, where we will repeat the process like before. Draw in the horizon line and add some trees in the distance. Which all it is a bunch of squiggly lines and a bunch of random directions to give the illusion of leaves, and which gives us a much needed break from doing a bunch of straight lines. Keep in mind, the more you go over a section, the darker it will become. Let's add some happy little clouds in the sky to give the sky some depth and interest. The placement of these clouds are strategic in that they will help to guide the viewer's eye to our main subject. Create rounded edges on the top of the clouds and a more flat look to the bottom. One final detail is to add his glass of lemonade. Start by drawing a side-lying oval on the top of a tube-shaped shape, which will create his little cup, and a little line for his straw, before giving it some shading along the left side and on the bottom of the cup. Then all that's left is to sign your name. This was a long, intricate, detailed drawing, and if you've made it this far, then you are a super artiste. And now it's time to sit back and enjoy your hard work. Thanks for joining me on this drawing adventure. If you liked this class and want to see more, drop a like and comment, and I'll see you next time.